Good evening, everyone, and especially Greg. You're in the humor path. This was not a humorous story, but that's okay because the goal here was to connect with storytelling, and you told quite a story. Started off, thought it was starting off simple. 15 years old, tough times, run away from home. I thought, run around the corner, stay with some friends for a day. No. Portugal, Spain, France. And then it gets deeper and deeper. The Foreign Legion, and then a mercenary for executive outcomes. Now, by the way, I have to point out executive outcomes. That sounds like the most white collar organization, and yet it is literally mercenaries. It was just wild. I never even heard of it before. And he went on from there with these incredible descriptions, which we'll get to that a little bit more later, about the horrors of war, and then on and on about all kinds of just horrifying things going on with war, with plague of Ebola, and then with the mother of all bombs, and then coming home. Amazing, amazing story. Let's talk about the mechanics. My intro, I was talking about, vocal variety, gestures, and so on. You really didn't have much of that. And that's okay, because sometimes the story is in the words. And you had incredible words and incredible phrasing and a very good structure. Everything flowed. And I'll give some examples. You had the thunk of a round and the dust cloud of blood and rain sizzling off a machine gun. So there was a little bit of vocal sort of onomatopoeia in there. There were all kinds of things. You gave a list of bodily fluids. I didn't know there were that many bodily fluids. You can't, and you have this repeated thing, can't unsee, bodies in recovery, can't, and the smells of the jungle on a hot day, can't ever forget. And then you went into the specifics of Ebola, the bodily fluids, typically 50%, sometimes 90% fatality rates, just horrors, the horrors of war, the horrors of plague, all pushed together. It was gripping. It was amazing. And then you segued into this idea of a mercenary with a conscience. And that itself is an interesting turn of a phrase. And that gives the idea that, you know what, I went through all this, but instead of coming out broken, and it's sort of you did in the story, but that instead you sort of ended up going beyond it and seeing what had to be done. And then and he sort of finished off not with a happy ending, but with this idea of an ending nonetheless, of away from the war and away from the plague and back to some semblance of normalcy. So you also didn't, I'm using more gestures here now, I think, than 2 minutes than you did in the whole speech. So one idea would be to take this and add some more of the usual features of the vocal variety and the gestures, but don't get away from the impactful words. That was really the key. And I look forward to more speeches, though hopefully a little bit happier ones. Thank you.